I'm Orim Shimshon. I was from Iraq originally. I was raised in the UK. For the past 2 years, I've been advocating for Israel, confronting anti-Israel people and supporters of Islamic terrorism. Well, we were taught that it was spread by peace everywhere, but as I grew older in my late teens, I figured that wherever it spread, they always clashed and had problems with people of other religions: Christians, Jews, Zoroastrians, Hindus, Buddhists, everyone. And I thought, how can everyone be wrong and just this one religion be right? Just anyone with uh, any rational individual would question this and would do more research and look on the other side rather than just looking at the side of what you was told, the same narrative. Well, the people that I knew generally weren't at the time before advocating. They weren't really politically motivated. So the people who I got to know through social media and through other events that I went to, such as commemorating the Munich massacre 40 years, a couple of years back. Um, Obviously, some of them, each one had a different opinion. Some were naive, some would agree with me, some would oppose me, and but as time went on, I knew that there were people who were either in the middle or on the left that eventually they would come on my side, and they did because they saw it themselves. I mean, it's just common sense that prevails, in my opinion. Yes, that's correct. I felt I had to take risks and to get it recorded, to get it documented, such as the Nakba. Now, the Nakba is it means catastrophe in Arabic. It's when the Exodus happened in 1948, where the Palestinians they claim that they were ethnically cleansed, that there were massacres, which we know isn't true. This is their side of the story, which is based on myth. Just as an example, if you look up the Tantura massacre, which was a fairy tale endorsed by Ilan Pappé, who's an Israeli, very bitter man, decided to turn on his country and side with the Palestinians, so-called professor. And this is the sort of things I've been doing, and the risks had to be taken so people can wake up. People just need to be spurred on. Some people want to do something, and they need to be spurred. There's quite a number of them. You'd be surprised that there were quite a few of these people. So I felt, I have to do something to spur these people on.
So this Nakba thing. So Nakba refers to saying the Exodus, but I've heard the term used to mean the catastrophe of the creation of the state of Israel.
Yeah, as I said, 1948, they claimed they were ethnically cleansed from former mandatory Palestine.
Oh, I see.
And they made lies like the Tarantura massacre, which didn't happen, and they exaggerated. Although they don't talk about the massacres they committed before 1948 against the Jews, and that's the problem. So it's just a one-way propaganda. We have the victim card only because they haven't got the might to take on that country called Israel. If they could have the might, then it would be a completely different story. The ugly faces would be reared, and their true colors would be shown.
And to
It
what
was
purpose?
it was at a church, St. John's Wood Church. Obviously, they were hosting it, and you had all sorts of groups such as Zaytun, this dancing group, Palestinian dancing group. You had these other speakers, various speakers, who would come up and give their testimony. Interestingly enough, one guy who was from Tel Aviv claimed he was a Palestinian and claimed he wanted all that land, not just a two-state solution. And when I confronted the priest at the end, he claimed he didn't hear it, which is disingenuous to say the least.
Well, it does suggest there's another motive at work, doesn't it?
Mm.
And so, what did you do? Like, you took a video of you going to this thing, and what did you do at it?
Yeah, I had these two signs. One of them saying, "What about the Palestinian Christians persecuted by Palestinian Muslims?" Now, we know that they hate Jews, but they cover up the lies that they propaganda that Christians and Muslims got along the whole time. That's not true. There have been many cases where Muslims have been persecuting Christians in Gaza and in the PA in Judea and Samaria. So the other sign said, if you don't believe me, ask Christy Anastas, who's a Palestinian Christian from Bethlehem. She exposes the lies of the Palestinian cause, and she's a supporter of the state of Israel, and she speaks the truth. And so people were approaching me. One girl first, she told me I was being disrespectful. So I told her why she's here, what she is, an anti-Semite, and that she wants genocide of the Jews. She doesn't know that. That's why she was shocked. Then the second one, another Palestinian girl, she came along and said more or less the same thing. And she told me I'm being disrespectful, which I find rather hypocritical, because whenever there's a pro-Israel event, we always see them swarm around with their flags and then the Torah Carta and all these signs and the same old uh, narrative we've heard from them. My YouTube channel is called Zion Awakening.
Zion Awakening, okay.
Yeah, if they type it up on YouTube, it'll come up. I've had 43 videos so far, and hopefully a few more coming up before the end of this year. And that's how they'll find my videos. There's quite a few confrontations. I would say the late videos were much better than the early ones, because when I started off, I didn't start it off to make it as a channel for everyone to see. I just wanted to show my friends, but then I decided to just put titles on them as it started growing, and my profile was getting higher and higher. Yes, it feels like I think the problem I see is the monopoly of the media and the education system and the establishment by the leftist. The problem we see with the Islamification is a symptom of the real problem of the leftists. Without them, we wouldn't have this problem. If true conservative people were in charge, then we wouldn't be seeing all this happening. The terrorism, the Sharia zones, the attacks on Jews, not only in London but in Manchester and other parts of the UK. Now, other reason is perhaps fear of riots. It's not just the UK or other parts of the West, even in Israel. I mean, in Israel, there's a law against inciting violence, yet the PA Mufti, Mohammed Hussein in Jerusalem, he was inciting violence and terrorism, and he wasn't arrested, even though it was on record. Yeah, definitely the one with Sarah Coburn, head of Palestine Solidarity Campaign. It was we could say it's a Hamas meeting because they were pro-Hamas, and it was it was titled "Pro-Palestinians at a Hamas meeting surprised by one Israeli supporter," and I got up there with signs while she was speaking, and at first the organizers tried to usher me away, but they couldn't, and she told people just to ignore me. I'll go away. I didn't go away. And then she turned around. She got distracted. She turned around and told me to go. That I made my point, and it's best I leave. Of course, I left. I didn't want to stay and confront any of them. I just left and said peace for everyone. And that I think people should. I'd recommend that. Also, I think the Al Quds Day one is very significant because I'm living in a Western country. I should be free to express my views, to express who I support. Nobody, no fascists. Foreign fascists at that has the right to silence me or try and intimidate me from what I want to support and who I support and what I want to express. And that's exactly what they tried to do at the Nakba Day. Just one Israeli flag. I came from a Muslim nation. I live in a non-Muslim Western free country, but these Muslims are coming over, and of course the police in that video, which is titled "Lucky Escape from an Islamic Mob" on Al Quds Day. He told me I had better leave because they can't protect me against 5,000 people. So
it's almost as if the police, even if they're right-minded, and even if they are honourable people trying to uphold British law and individual rights, are so intimidated and afraid of Muslim immigrants, or even if they're not immigrants, but just Muslims who live there, that they're submitting to Sharia norms for what's acceptable and what isn't. and in the name of protecting you, ushering you or anybody who objects to Islam away so that you can't get hurt by them. Is that what you're saying?
It does seem like they're caving in, but I wouldn't blame the individual police at that. I'd blame the people high up, because if you look at that video, that policeman, all credit to him, he was frantically trying to stop the protesters from coming at me. So I wouldn't want to put the blame on him, because obviously, I should be grateful to him for helping me out of that situation. But the establishment high up, yes, you're right. They just cave in. High echelon, unfortunately they display cowardice. What other people need to do is to get together, speak up. They don't have to go to their events. You can do it online. You can, with social media, it's much more effective than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago. Now we can get our voices heard. Now we don't have to rely on mainstream media, which doesn't give the full facts. Now you can join groups on Facebook, you can tweet on Twitter, and spread your articles, write articles on different blogs on the issues, any current issues that have been happening, any ones that happened, or perhaps an analysis. One thing I'd like to mention, which I feel is very important, in this day and age where millions of people focus on an issue, in modern era politics, things easily descend to the irrational. And the reason for that is because people are more moved emotionally rather than intellectually. For instance, after the attack on that soldier in Britain,
Lee Rigby.
Lee Rigby. What happened afterwards? We heard there were front pages, big stories on mosques being attacked. So the first thing people reacted was, oh, we cannot generalize a whole group of people. We cannot generalize a whole religion. But that's not the point. The point is, we don't know who's who. As we've seen, some terrorists were secular. The 9/11 hijackers were secular. Faisal Shahzad, the would-be New York car bomber, he was secular and moderate, and he grew horns overnight, so to speak. Or in Sweden, that bomber in Sweden, the Muslim bomber,
So
he had an.
I have to just clarify something. You mean the 9/11 hijackers were secular before they became religious Muslims?
That's right.
Right. Okay. Good. Because they certainly weren't secular when they did the 9/11 hijackers, right?
No, of course not. But yeah, so we don't know who's who. Anjem Chowdhury was a secular whiskey drinker when he was in his younger days. Look how he turned out. So it's very difficult. Nobody has a filter to filter out the good or the bad, and we need to talk about this without the fear of being called racists. Thank you.